Greetings, Paper Demons. I recently got an email from a mother of a person with ADHD who's about to go into college, and they were asking for some advice. And actually, I had been thinking about making a video about this topic. So I'd done some content before about my college experience, but I hadn't really done anything specifically about ADHD and about my experience in college and what advice I'd have to someone who is about to go into college who is neurodiverse. So this is now that video. All right, so let's get into it. The first thing I would recommend doing is getting registered with the Disability Resource Center at your university. I can't speak for other countries, but I do know in the United States, under the Americans with Disabilities Act, ADHD is an official disability. It's recognized as a disability, and therefore you are entitled to certain benefits and accommodations at university to help level the playing field a bit for you and to help you to succeed. I did this after my first year of college. I think I did. My first year of college, I really bombed my classes. My grades were really poor my first year. I was skipping classes a lot. I was really struggling. That was because I was kind of rediscovering my ADHD diagnosis. I wasn't really aware of the fact that I was aware that I had been diagnosed as a kid, but I didn't really know what it meant. And so I went through this process of kind of rediscovering it and getting re-diagnosed with it again because the paperwork had been lost. I changed doctors. It was a long time ago, all this yada, yada, yada. And I ended up getting registered with the Disability Resource Center to get help because I really did need it. And I strongly recommend getting registered, even if you don't think you're going to need the services, because you may end up with a class where you really do need those services. I got access to early registration, note-taking services, tutoring, extra time on tests. I think there were more accommodations as well. I just can't remember them off the top of my head. Teachers are also just additionally understanding if you need extra time for an assignment or you need extra help with an assignment. If you're struggling with it, you're going to disclose to them at the beginning of the semester that you have a disability and that you've been registered with the Disability Resource Center. You don't have to tell them what it is. You don't have to tell them that it's ADHD. That helps you to be set up with more understanding and compassion from your professors. Another concern that could come up with college is, as we know, with ADHD, our executive functioning is really poor. We have a really hard time with planning, prioritizing, meeting deadlines, getting organized. These sorts of things are even harder in college because professors are not going to help you with any of that. They're going to give you a deadline and they expect you to follow it. And it's not like high school where they help you to break things down and give you mini deadlines in between. There's even a lot of homework where they don't even collect the homework, so there's no accountability for a lot of things. So this is going to be an area of struggle, but it also means it's an opportunity to learn some new tools. Technology, there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of apps now that can help to augment and assist you and accommodate your executive functioning difficulties. One app in particular that I think is really cool and worth checking out is called Habitica. It basically allows you to turn your life into an RPG and gamify and reward you for getting things done that maybe you have trouble getting done. So you could put your homework assignments in there. It's basically like a to-do list, a checklist. So I would recommend finding tools like that can kind of help you to both organize yourself and motivate you. I would also recommend experimenting with different types of tools to help you to organize and plan. Experiment with things like Google Calendar or different to-do apps or, whatever you need to do, different methods of planning or time blocking or whatever it is. This is your time to kind of help figure out what works best for you. And it's okay if things work one semester and then don't work the next. That is, in fact, I would expect that to happen. Be prepared to have a lot of failure in this area. And that's okay, because college is a learning experience and this is a chance to learn those sorts of things. I would also say if you have the funds, one option that you could explore is getting a coach. There are ADHD coaches out there who are specifically coaches for students who will help you to check in, provide accountability with you, make sure you're staying on top of assignments, help you to break down large assignments into smaller pieces, that sort of thing. So I realize not everyone can afford such a thing, but it is something to consider. And I have no idea if that's something that would be available as an accommodation. It might possibly be through a tutor. Tutoring was available to me as an accommodation, so I could potentially see a tutor becoming like a coach to help with some of those things. Another problem area is going to be studying, and I wish I had some really solid advice for this. Unfortunately, I have some ideas, but they're not really all that solid. Studying was a huge pain point for me in college. I would sit down to study in the evenings and I would just fall asleep because my brain was like, this is the most boring crap ever. I cannot read this and comprehend this. For me personally, I've got a reading comprehension disability. So reading and studying things like history was particularly painful. I don't know if every tutor will do this, but I had tutors who would read the material for me and summarize it. There may also be resources online that summarize a lot of books and textbooks and stuff that might be helpful, because for me, it was really difficult figuring out what the most important information was to focus on to study, because to me it seemed like everything was important, and I just really didn't know. It may also help to just ask the teacher for a study guide of some kind. Another thought is to use a technique like Pomodoro's, which is where you would study for 25 minutes and take a 5-minute break. You could also modify this to the ADHD version, which is study for 10 minutes and take a break for 5 minutes. Absolutely valid, totally okay to do that. Changing the location of where you study, so sometimes study at home, sometimes study with a friend, sometimes study at a library, sometimes study at a restaurant. Changing your environment can really help to freshen things up and help you to stay focused. Having a study partner can be really helpful too. It's not a technique that I really used, but having an accountability buddy is something I use a lot more now, as I'm not studying now, but it does help me to get things done. So it can be helpful having a commitment with someone else that okay, at this date and time, I'm going to be studying. Also in this email are questions about GPA and that kind of thing. I do want to say, just have more realistic expectations of yourself. Don't go into college expecting to get a 4.0 or try for a 4.0 if you don't think that that's realistic for you. If you really have really bad ADHD, it's okay to just, shoot for B's, shoot for C's. I have a friend who likes to say C's get degrees. While I don't totally agree with that sentiment, I think I agree with the fact that, everyone is different and it's not fair to yourself to set yourself up for a failure, to demand perfection of yourself when that's not something that you are able to really do right now. Even just generally expecting perfection of yourself is not healthy. I think grades are not as important as you think they are, especially in college, unless you're going to do some sort of postgraduate program where your GPA really matters, or you have scholarships that demand a certain GPA level. I really wouldn't worry too much about the grades. What matters is that you get through college and finish it, because it's the degree that has value and it's the skills that you accumulate while you're there that have value. And, especially if you're going through an arts type of major, you're getting valuable skills that will help you have an art career. And so focus more on accumulating the skills. If you are accumulating them, hopefully the grades will reflect that, but it's okay if they don't. Lower your expectations. That's okay to do that. the stats that used to float around, they're kind of old at this point. They're 20 years old at this point. But the Milwaukee study that Dr. Russell Barkley did, which was like a longitudinal study that followed kids diagnosed with ADHD all the way up through college and marriage and that kind of stuff, showed that of all the people who attempted college, only 5% of them actually finished it. And I was aware of that statistic when I started college, or around early in my career in college, and I was devastated by that. So basically, there was a 95% chance that I was not going to finish this degree. And that just killed me, knowing that. But I still finished it. And that's one of the reasons why I got my accommodations. It's like, everything is stacked against me. I should find every resource I possibly can to help me to succeed and get through this. Another thing I would suggest is taking a lighter course load, because college is hard, yo. Take less classes each semester. Even if it means you're going to get through college, it's going to take you longer to get through college. Like, just take less classes so you have more time for you, more me time, more time to focus on your passions, to focus on what gets you through the day. Because if you're only focused on school, like it can be a downer. A lot of college kids deal with depression and that kind of thing. Just in addition to the fact that it's going to take you much longer to complete homework than other students will. It's going to take you longer to study than other students will. So, you need to account for the fact that each class is going to have more workload than it will for other students. For me personally, it took me 6 years to get through my 4-year degree. I took the minimum amount of courses that were required to be considered a full-time student, because that's what was required for me to stay on my mom's health insurance. But most students were taking 1 more class per semester or 2 more than I was. I was taking 4 a semester rather than like 5 or 6, because my mom, she just was much more understanding of what my limits were and suggested that I start just, with the lowest course load possible. In addition, I would recommend not trying to work a job unless it's something that is within your passion. It's like something that you're passionate about or something like that. But I also understand not everyone has the privilege to be able to do that. Some people have to pay their way through their own college. This email also has some questions about what major to major in. I would suggest to you, if you are an ADHD student out there, pick the major that you are most passionate about. Don't pick a major based on which one is going to give you the most career options. And that's not advice that I would give to a neurotypical person, but I think for a neurodiverse person, things are already stacked against you in terms of being able to complete college, that I think you have a higher chance of success of finishing if you pick something you have passion for, because you're already going to have to take a bunch of general ed classes that are boring AF. You do not want to take them, and you have to take them, and they suck, and you got to study for them anyway, even though you have absolutely no interest in them. So you don't want all of them to be like that. You just will not survive if that's how it is. So I would strongly recommend picking something that is that you are passionate about. And the thing is too, having a degree in one area doesn't mean that that's what your career will be. A lot of people, so many people I know, especially in computer science, so many people don't have degrees that are in a coding field that do web development. Half of them don't have computer science degrees. They have degrees in a wide variety of other things, and they self-taught themselves computer science and coding and that kind of thing. So your major is not predetermining what your career will be, and a lot of places just care that you got through college and that you have the skills needed to accomplish the job. And there's also a lot of jobs out there where you learn on the job. So I wouldn't obsess too much about picking the right degree to start off, and you can always switch majors. After the first year you realize, I don't really like this major. you can always switch. And yeah, it might take you a little bit longer to finish because you might have to start that program over again, but it's worth it to switch to something that you are actually going to be interested in, because it's really hard to maintain a focus to achieve a long-term goal like finishing college over a 4 to 6 year period if you don't really love what you're doing. I also sometimes get questions about medication. And I want to be very careful about how I answer questions about that, because I'm not a doctor and I don't want to be recommending medications to anyone. So I suggest you have conversations with your psychiatrist or your general practitioner about your medications, because I don't want to be giving medical advice. I can at least share my own personal experience in that I tried many different ADHD medications but was not able to find one that worked for me for a long period of time. I tried a few different things while I was in college for a while, but some of them, when they'd wear off, I would have a meltdown, like an absolute emotional breakdown, totally in tears, super embarrassing, total loss of emotional control would happen when the medication would wear off. And it was really, really hard to manage that, and I ended up not continuing that medication for too much longer because it was a bad experience for me. A lot of the other ones, I had various problems with the side effects and wasn't able to get anything to work for me. So what I currently do is caffeine is my stimulant, and it helps me to focus. So if I need to start doing some paperwork or some sort of task that requires a lot more focus, or especially coding, something like that, I will drink a caffeinated beverage. I usually drink 2 to 3 caffeine drinks a day. I'm not a fan of coffee, but I will do tea or soda. And what's nice about caffeine is it doesn't require a prescription or anything, and it's readily available. So that's what works for me personally, but I would never discourage anyone from trying medication. I think that trying it is worth it, because I've heard so many times from other people that it works wonders for them and it really helps them. So, I mean, what I would say is work with your doctor to try different things and try to find something that works best for you. Okay, so those are my thoughts thus far for an ADHD person on how to navigate college, and some tips that I have. I'm sure I missed some tips. I might make another video in the future, but I know that there's a lot of really smart and experienced ADHDers within our community who might have some additional tips. So if you have some tips, please post them in the comments below, and this will serve as a really great resource for our community members and for the person who wrote me this letter. So please do share any advice that you have below, because it will be viewed and it will go to a person who really needs it. And give it a like and a thumbs up and click all the little things. Also, if you are an artist and you like role-playing games, you should check out the PaperDemon art role-playing game. It's a free online art RPG community where you earn loot for drawing your original characters, going on adventures and fighting boss monsters. Oh, it's so much fun. Definitely check it out. There's a link for that in the description below. Our community is super friendly and supportive, so if you're a creative person looking for some support, check out our Discord server. There's a link for that in the description below. Anyway, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and take care. Bye. Bye bye. See you later. I'm gonna see you in the next video. Yeah.